Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages.
Oh, the hell with it. Let's just start the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vern and Bob's Star Trek show. We're here to talk to you about Star Trek and our opinions, and to tell you a little bit about the format of this episode. We talked about it in our intro episode, so we definitely want to talk about it again because this is pretty much the way our show is going to go for the first couple episodes. We're going to be talking about favorites and least favorite episodes of Star Trek, The Next Generation Season 1. We might have made a blunder saying that this was a most favorite and least favorite episode. This one, we're going to give you one of Bob's favorites, and we're going to give you one of my least favorites. Bob might have made a mistake here. Without further ado, episode 001. Bob, tell us the Star Trek episode we're watching.
We're going to do season 1, episode 15. Episode name is 11001001. I had this as one of my favorite episodes.
Would you like to defend your favorite episode?
No, there is no defending this. I don't know where I pulled this one out of my ass from. But now that I've watched it and I've kind of looked back and I was taking notes and I was actually watching it more focused on it than I guess I normally am. When I do watch throughs, I never focus on season 1 because it's such shit. This one is terrible. It's badly written. The only thing that I somewhat like in it is the binars. I like that concept as a race. They are so intertwined with their computer that something like this would completely destroy them if their computer went offline. Other than that, just bad writing. The acting wasn't really that good either. So I have no defending this. This is...
Then let's get right into ripping it. I prepared for this because I was, expecting you to have the old girl's back tonight, and it didn't work out. So, William T. Riker, HR Nightmare of the Year. Very first scene, the binars are coming onto the ship. He is told that they are neither female or male. And Riker's face, because Riker, and this is weird because this comes back to play later in another season. Riker's ready for any woman to walk onto the ship. As soon as he finds out they're not male or female, he goes into straight ass mode of just treating them like questioning everything they're doing. Well, why is it going to take so long? And
and he goes, why are you acting so weird?
Why are you acting so weird, Will?
And then he tells him, keep an eye on him, Wesley. He goes, well, you're acting like you don't trust him.
I thought there were only going to be 2 of you.
Because of the limited time allotted us, we need others.
Is there a problem?
No problem.
Then why are you acting so excited?
Because we all have to... stacking! To reconfigure the computer. To communicate with itself. More efficiently. And at higher speeds.
You act like you don't believe them.
I'm not sure that I do. Maybe it's nothing.
Perhaps it's just the way another species behaves.
Maybe. I'm going to stroll around the ship. You've got the bridge. Keep your eye on them.
Yes, sir.
I don't trust anything I can't put something into. That's what Real Riker's mindset is.
Yeah.
So then you go later into the scene where, he's talking to Tasha. And the problem with this is, William Riker, you are number 2 in command of the Starship Enterprise.
Starship is right at this point.
For this episode. You knew what was going to be happening with these repairs, with these upgrades. The lights go out, and now you come over very aggressively to the computer. There's a power shortage in this section. Computer, explain why. And then the computer talks to you like you're a dumbass because they're doing repairs, idiot.
You know they're doing repairs. That's why you're at the starbase. We have to, conserve. We have to shut everything down while they reboot things.
Computer, there's a power reduction in section L94. Explain.
Unoccupied sections are being closed down in order to clear space in the main computer banks. It is necessary to facilitate the system upgrade. Full power can be restored if needed.
So then, you get Riker into the holodeck and he's just horn dog Riker.
Womanizing knows no bounds in this
No
episode.
ends.
He does not have an issue with creating a lover for him that's all over him from the word go. He doesn't have to try. He just has to like look at her and goes, "What's a computer generated
woman doing
a gin joint like this?"
Yeah.
What's your name? Tell me you love jazz.
My name is Minuet, and I love all jazz, except Dixieland.
Why not Dixieland?
You can't dance to it.
Why don't you like Dixieland? Because you can't dance to it.
Tell that to the people of New Orleans.
Yeah. So I give Riker a stop here. We're going to rewind, go back to Picard.
Mm-hmm.
Bridge? Well, I have a little work to finish up. Then I'm going to my cabin. I'm going to put my feet up. I'm going to turn on my personal relaxation light.
What is that?
I had to rewind it. I'm like, what the hell did he just say?
What is a personal relaxation light?
Let's be honest. It's a flashlight of the 23rd century.
He's going to use that, and then he's going to use
Curl
that,
up
and then
book.
he's going to curl up and get lost in some old novel.
Old novel.
And then they ask
Riker's writing is horrible.
Oh, it's so bad. It's like they didn't have any real plans for Picard for this episode, so they just
put him in different places.
It felt like he was just there, like on the holodeck. He's the third wheel, clearly, in that last scene before he tries to leave. He's just like sitting there, and they're all like, "Oh, hey," and they're holding hands and about to kiss, and he's just sitting there like watching. Like, it's incredible how realistic she is.
Earl Grey. Hot.
Computers make decisions based on input, and we humans give off a multitude of subtle signs that communicate our emotions.
It's uncanny. I could develop feelings for Minuet, exactly as I would for any woman.
Doesn't love always begin that way, with the illusion more real than the woman?
Oh, Jean-Luc, spoken like a true Frenchman.
Well, I think I'll be leaving.
Oh, don't go.
Further down the road, when they realize that the Enterprise has been taken over, and you go into a weapons locker that he had to use his clearance to get into, and all they come out with is hand phasers.
What was it called too? It wasn't even called like the armory. It was called
weapons room.
Weapons room.
I'm like, that's the best you got, boys. Weapons room.
Weapons room. And then did they even push in any type of like
no, he walks
clearance?
Up to the door
just
and
walked
says,
right
Picard,
into it.
He says Picard access. And it opens the door. And I guess they had to upgrade the security to the main computer because Picard in this episode, as well as Riker, when they go to set the self-destruct sequence, Riker's like surprised he's gonna blow up the ship. I'm like, don't you know Starfleet protocol that if the ship is compromised, the ship goes bye-bye.
And I'll tell you what, in the first 2 seasons, that ship gets compromised quite a bit.
Right. I'm like, that's the number one rule of Starfleet. We'll say number 2 because the Prime Directive is number 1. But number 2, if the ship becomes compromised, the ship goes blow up.
You know what's fucking hilarious is they follow that one a lot more strictly than they do the Prime Directive.
So they go and they do the whole thing where they put their hand on the little monitor to get it going, the access panel. And all they say is, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, start self-destruct. Like, what happened to the key codes that you got to have to do this?
Oh, like what was the one? I think it's season 3. It's Brothers, I want to say, and it's Data does that super long access code to lock out the interface, and it's like, you know, it literally goes on for like, and you can go on YouTube and watch these videos where people just loop it, and it's just like 6 hours of him going through a passcode.
So, and Riker's just all hesitant all the way up to the point of saying yes. It's like the computer should have asked Commander Riker, are you in distress? Blink twice.
And this is where the ending just gets so, to me, anticlimactic. It's like they get on the bridge, the Binars are sitting there in like a pile.
Right.
It was like back a Superman show back from the
Yeah.
40s where he would beat the shit out of them and they would just be in this pile like they were like all out cold. It's just a terrible ending. It's like they didn't really know how to end this episode. So they
knew
just
how
were
to
like,
start
okay,
the
well, they'll be
episode.
out cold on the ground and then they'll take them literally 30 seconds to figure out the passcode.
Right.
And then I always get a kick out of whenever Picard uses like a computer interface because he does like the pecking.
Well, it's been some time since I had the con. But not to worry, number one. You're in good hands. Starbase 74. Warp 2. Engage.
It's just like, okay,
little life
exactly like that, because you'll see it here in a little bit when they're going back and he's like, well, it's been a little while since I've taken the con, let me see if I know what I'm doing.
The ship literally will go where you tell it to go.
Yeah, he goes, Starbase 74, ding. Warp 2, ding. Engage, ding. He literally pushed like 3 buttons and it was like, okay, you go. I don't know. This episode has so much wrong with it.
But it was one of your favorites.
No.
What is going to happen if all your favorites turn into just...
I feel like all my favorites are going to turn into shit now that I've watched this one. So, no, I got a couple on there that I know are good. Not good, but good for season 1. Compared to the rest. This was one of the VHS tapes I had when I was younger, and it was probably one that I've watched more than any other, so it's got just very sentimental type thing from watching it when I was little. But now that I watched it and I've kind of paid attention to it, it's just a bad episode.
Yes, in fact, shit.
It's a lot of shit.
And that's why I'm glad it was the first one up, because it was the number 1 worst episode for me.
That was your number 1?
That was my number 1.
Oh.
There's nothing good about this episode.
Well, no, there's nothing good about it, but there's nothing good about a vast majority of them either.
Well, this one tastes the cake.
Yeah, it's terrible, but it's not like my top 5 terrible.
But I mean, it goes in. So another part that bothers me about the structure of the ship, how in the world does this happen? How does Chief Engineer Geordi LaForge not be able to look at it and say, oh, that's just the computer being stupid?
Well, because he's not the chief engineer yet. He doesn't become that until season 2, so it's really not his job to give a shit, really. He goes from being a pilot to chief engineer within like the span of like 3 months. Also, we're skipping over a very big plot hole in this episode. At the end of the episode, they have to have 2 people put in the access codes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they got Riker into the holodeck, right? Oh, wow, this works out perfect. They had no plan to keep him. I mean...
Were they going to hijack Wesley,
No, because Wesley got the fuck off that ship before anybody did. You saw there was that line where people were pushing each other, and there's Wesley just like, I'm out of here.
Shut up, Wesley.
Acting Ensign Wesley Crusher.
6, 7, 8, 9,
Hold your positions,
10.
please. Prepare to energize.
17 through 28.
And
proceed to
energize.
transporters 11, 12, 13, and 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't going to use it.
They can single-handedly take over the ship by himself, by the way.
It's like, and it's funny. By this point, you kind of got the feeling, too, that they didn't know what to do with Tasha Yar either, because they give
Deanna wasn't even in the episode.
They do that a couple times in this season. I've really started to notice, like a couple episodes before this, they really were like, we don't know what to do with Yar. Clearly, Worf is probably the direction they were wanting to go in because he seems like a more interesting character. And I can honestly see why she wanted to leave the show, because they really, after episode like 9 or 10, they really don't do a whole lot with her. I mean, she's just there. She comes up with ideas that Picard shoots down immediately, like you're a dumbass.
Yeah, especially in the first couple of, and chief of security, I strongly I strongly object.
Yeah, and he never takes her seriously, and he ends up doing the same thing to Worf. I made a mistake with this episode. I clearly did.
It happens. We all make mistakes. But
I thought more of that.
To wrap this one up, we have discovered that this one is a turd.
It's a heaping pile of shit.
I'm
It's
glad
what
we
it
got
is.
it out of the way in our 001 episode. And we're going to wrap up. And I know Bob has a few more things to say here.
As you know, we're on YouTube, but you can also find us on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. We're up on that as well. I do have a Discord up and running now, so it's a real place for anybody that wants to join us. We can talk about Star Trek, what's your favorite episodes, who your favorite characters are.
Come hang out with us on the Discord. But with that, where can we find you on the social medias out there, Bob?
My TikTok at Trekkie83. Like to post a lot of, or some of my favorite clips from the Star Trek franchise.
As far as I am concerned, you can find me on TikTok at WVGLAG. For this episode 001, we sign off. And everybody, have a great day.